My name is Bridget Coughlin, and I have the privilege of being a curator here in the biochemical sciences and also a vice president. I oversee some of our divisions like education, partnerships with things like Maker Faire, and membership, and a suite of other things. I am not responsible for the museum finally getting a coffee cart, which is probably the museum's biggest accomplishment of date. I wanted to welcome you. I am the thing that's standing before hearing about from the global director of the Maker Faire and the Maker Faire movement. But I wanted, just on behalf of the museum and the museum team, to thank you for being here, to thank you for helping our students become really fully human. So we're geeks here at the Museum of Nature and Science, and it really dawns on us that only the human species makes. Other species can create, right? They can make a nest or a den, and we certainly make houses and homes. But as a species, that is probably the single biggest differentiator, is that our species creates and makes, and you guys, through your classroom work and through your participation this weekend, really enable that. And so thank you for really making this the human experience and giving your time to explore together today. The museum is really happy to partner with the Maker movement and Maker Faire. I'll tell you, some of our colleagues in the museum industry are like, well, that's not very diorama-ish of you. And we say, exactly. So let's let the public curate and create and really give away that curator title that I hold to everyone, to our 1.4 million visitors. They might all come tomorrow. Join us in the curatorial realm. I won't be able to stay for much of the program. We are open 365 days a year, and if you're not careful as a teammate, this place will draw you in and you'll be here every single day. A bit of warning, tomorrow is wonderful. And if you're coming tomorrow, which I think everyone will be, it will be a vortex of humanity in the parking lot. So two things: come early, come with patience, and treat yourself to the world's best and least expensive latte when you arrive at our coffee cart. So with that, I'm going to leave a bunch of my business cards. If you have any questions about the museum, I can connect you with the right person or try to help. As educators, you probably already know that all organized youth groups come free to the museum. You show up this summer with 8 kids, you show up on that yellow school bus with your whole school, you come in free, no admission. And so help us get that word out. We feel really strongly that this is a public education place, and we should be as accessible as possible. So there is free admission. It's been going on, this school year will be our 4th or 5th year in doing that. But even if you want to come just with a small group, you just have to say, we're organized and we're youth, and then we nod. You don't have to show up in a yellow school bus. So thank you very much. Again, my cards will be in the back. If anyone wants to contact me, I'll be around this weekend. And now let me introduce a woman who goes way back in my life, like 10 minutes, but who I feel like I already have a kindred spirit with. She believes what we're about to do to her core. It was really in her DNA. And you'll see that when she represents Maker Faire and her work. She chose, this is a big Maker weekend nationally, she has chosen to come here to Denver instead of being at the larger national Maker Faire in Washington, D.C., hosted by the White House. So welcome to the Mile High City. We are so happy that you are here, and it is my privilege to introduce Sabrina Merlot, the program director of Maker Faire.
I guess we will use the audio here. Great to be here. Really happy to be in Denver. It is true, there's a lot going on in DC this weekend. I was just watching the social stream. Today is Capitol Hill Mini Maker Faire, so there's actually a Maker Faire in the Rayburn building. Has anybody been to DC and congressional offices? There's actually makers there on the floor. There's a whole speaker program, and this was definitely a collaboration, both Capitol Hill and then the National Maker Faire with the Office of Science and Technology Policy at the White House, which was also the driving factor behind the White House Maker Faire last year. So it is an exciting National Week of Making that is kicking off. And next weekend will be Maker Faire Shenzhen, the 4th year of a Maker Faire in Shenzhen. That show is probably expected to host somewhere over 50,000 people in the core of consumer electronics and hardware making, right? All of our gadgets. So many of them are created there, and that's really like one cornerstone of the Maker Faire world is the tinker, the hardware developer, the entrepreneur, people actually fooling around with products that find themselves leveraging these lower cost tool sets and seeing opportunities, crowdfunding, and moving their way into being serious, starting businesses, and seeing Maker Faire Shenzhen kind of as the pinnacle of that. Then there's the other really strong pillar of Maker Faire and this maker movement is the educator community. And you guys are driving innovation from a whole other angle, bringing joy and engagement to the classroom and meaningful interaction and experiences that resonate and stick, right? So we have been, Maker Faire in a way to some extent is this interesting moment where the educator community, the business community, and the entrepreneurial sector and the culture sector come together. Rarely do those three siloed groups tend to come to the same playing field and call an event their own. And that's, I think, part of the momentum around Maker Faire. We are 10 years old this year. We just had our 10th annual fair in the Bay Area, welcoming 145,000 people over the weekend. We have another flagship event in New York that happens in September in a partnership with the New York Hall of Science. And we will probably have over 150 Maker Fairs around the world this year on every continent. I think I counted over 30 countries and of all varying shapes and sizes. We'll probably hit over 1 million attendees this year, people experiencing Maker Fairs. So it's very grassroots, it's very ground up. People are applying to host Maker Fairs in their cities online, makerfaire.com/global. It's an open platform. Show your merit and jump through some hoops, and people start Maker Fairs where they live. We also, kind of relevant to you, we have a nonprofit that rolled out of Maker Media, the Maker Education Initiative, Maker Ed. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that organization. Some of you. They have a good set of resources and are doing interesting programs kind of in adjunct with us. We have Maker Camp, that is an online kind of maker experience learning projects program. Last year we did it in concert with Google. This year we're doing it independently. That will launch, I think it's 6 weeks of programming that'll launch online on July 6th. How many of you guys have experienced Maker Camp or worked with Maker Camp? Anybody? Check that out. It's actually going to be very interesting and a little bit different this year than what we've done in the past, but amazing kinds of online resources, projects. And then at Maker Faire Bay Area this year, we launched our School Maker Faire program for K through 12 schools, a registration-based, no license fee way to have a Maker Faire in your school to celebrate making across disciplines. So not just science, right, but STEAM, anything. It could be music, it could be whatever the kids are making in after school. Also, part of the model is to encourage parents and faculty to also show, as well as members of the the nearby community. So check out makerfaire.com/school for how to start a school Maker Faire. I'm really interested to experience the program today. I'll be here all weekend. And I'll be available if you want to chat. Really appreciate what you all do. I want to thank the museum for being the venue partner for this weekend. It's really a great thing for a city when a maker community joins together with an institution with the power and the channel and the audience of something like this museum, I think the potential for growing a Maker Faire here is really great, which is why I'm here. This will be really fun to see how it evolves over the next few years. And I think without that, I'll introduce, where's Gia? Oh, there she is. Gia Medeiros, she's your host today, organizing this. She is from the Macintosh Academy. And thanks again. Hope to talk to you later.
How do I help unleash their potential? And I see that some of you are already asking that question in your classrooms. How do we unleash the full creative potential of our students at school? And, you know, our questions on the wall also boil down to, you know, how do I just build a makerspace? So it's beautiful to see the range of what we're considering in this room. And I really invite you all to be part of the learning tonight. It's funny, we started this journey, I think they started this journey to this night about a year ago, to look into Maker Ed. There are Maker Fairs happening all in northern Colorado and Denver, Boulder, and people were asking Elise, you know, how do we get teachers to learn more about this? But really we didn't start doing the program until a couple months ago. And I was talking to George Campbell, who's founder of the D School at Stanford. And he said to me, well, Gia, you know, if you are worried about it, if you're nervous, and if you think you're going to get up there and present to people and give them all the answers that they need, well, yeah, you should be really nervous. And I want to invite you to see this weekend as something other than that. I want to invite you to see this as your weekend. I don't know how many of you who will be here the whole weekend. I hope you'll enjoy tonight and even invite friends and come back for more. But really, this is a learning journey, and it's yours. The questions that you have are what brought you here tonight. The insights that you might have are the ones that are going to propel you forward in your classrooms and in your schools. The things that you make out of this weekend, they're what you'll take home that's going to make a difference for your kids and for your classrooms and schools and communities. So this is really your journey. I've set up some interesting people to get you percolating, but I hope that you're sitting close enough to someone to talk about it this weekend, that you get to know people in this room that will be ongoing support. I love that some schools have brought multiple people. You can kind of create your own little learning circle. Throughout the year out of this, we will have other chances to get together and bring up the question of how do we unleash the potential of our students? How might we see our kids as not just consumers of content, but rather as creators of their experience, of their learning, and actually of the future itself, right? So that's kind of my call to you as teachers and leaders and spirits in this room who've chosen to be part of educating this next generation. How do we unleash them? How do we see them as creators? And that's kind of the broadest question we'll take on tonight. And we'll also tell you lots about how to make a makerspace and the kind of technologies. We have fabulous people in the room all weekend long that will have deep dives into those kinds of things. And I'm just going to give you 2 more minutes of myself, because I think sometimes when we think about making, what we think about is tinkering and robots and hacker spaces and all those kinds of things. And, you know, for me getting into this, it's not really been about that. For me, when I think about making, it's really about a mindset for life. You recognize some of your kids up there? Nice. So these are our kids and actually some of our teachers from Macintosh Academy up front who really have inspired me to be part of this movement. But, you know, there's a lot of talk in the air about innovation right now. But really, when it's just in the air, it's just talk. You guys are the ones on the front lines. You're the conductors, you're the coaches, you're the orchestrators that actually make that happen on a day-to-day basis. And I see that every day. So today we're going to set a slightly different frame. It's a little bit bigger and hopefully careful. We might change the world. I want you to start with one thing though. Just since everybody around you are kind of your partners for this event, your leaders and learners that you're connected with, I want you to do something with me that's kind of an exercise just to ground the room. Just look around a little bit. See what you see. What do you observe? What do you notice about the people around you, the rooms? What does it feel like to be in here? Use all of your senses. Who are these people? What are you curious about? What do you want to know about them? What do you wonder that they're wondering? And then I want you to do this. Put your hand around your eye and take a look through it. What do you see now? How does it shift? How does it make it harder, worse, better, different? It's a little harder this way. Lose a lot of your senses. What do you guys notice about that experience? Give me a couple of shout-outs. That's going to be part of this, too. I'm going to make you speak up, because I really don't want to talk that much. I should be at the back of the room somewhere. What do you notice? The difference in those experiences.
Zoom.
What do you notice? The difference for you?
Can't see as much.
Literally limits you, right?
But you can see, I noticed fabulous
She always has fabulous earrings. Parents, Mary Ann Miner. Yes, so actually it has benefits and as well as the drawbacks. So there are benefits too. I'm focused in. I see more stuff.
It's a parallel and context of information.
Tell me more about that.
Larger focus includes the environment, lighting cues, decorations. Smaller focus tightens the context and kind of the detail that you receive.
Nice. So
It's more vibrant. The focus, the colors seem more vibrant.
Yes.
You're honed in, or it's washed out.
just that kind of broad awareness.
I noticed more orange when I was looking around with the focus.
We got the color tones.
Orange, red.
Fascinating. Well, so this is a really important thing to remember for tonight. Because part of what I'm asking you to do is a little bit challenge your framing on teaching as content, on kids as that thing you're filling versus the creators of their own ideas and experiences and in fact the future. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about why, we might think making is only important for some kids, but actually if we look at it that way, it's important for everyone. And in fact for myself, it's kind of funny I'm standing here in front of you because I almost never thought of myself as a maker. It took me a long time to come to that. I'm not a tinkerer, I'm not craftsy. In fact, at home, I kind of joke that I can't even make dinner. Actually, my kids would tell you that too. It's really bad. So, I have no idea how to build a robot. I've never tried. But what I've learned through 20 years of doing organizational change and brand strategy and innovation, these kinds of things, is that making really is a mindset for life. And I come to it quite honestly. In fact, this is my dad. He showed up in New York in those shorts in December from Portugal, and he was a maker. He was a mason and came from a long line of builders. And I spent most of my childhood walking with him through houses and looking at them and thinking about how can we fix this, take down the wall there and put in some windows and maybe a kitchen island here. We could never afford to buy them, but we did that almost every weekend of my life. And what I learned from that is that, guess what? If you have three things. One, if you have an idea, or I'm going to go back. If you don't like something, you can actually change it. Two, if you have an idea, you can make it real. And then the third thing is that forgetting it, sorry. And if you see a wall sitting there in front of you, you can't say, oh, we can't do that. Well, he always said, how might we? Is that something we can actually do? And this was powerful for me. So I went to college. I became a professional. I thought, I'm not building anything with my hands. I'm not like my dad. But actually, I've spent 20 years, and everything that I've ever done has to do with being able to ask what if, being able to imagine it and make it real, whether it's a brand campaign or working with a school or helping teachers learn how to teach. If you can imagine it, you can create something. So, it took me about 20 years to come to being a maker, but when I did, I said, ding, 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 ding. guess what? We all are. You know, Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi says that there are two fundamental drives in human life. One is the drive to conserve, right? To conserve your energy, to do it the same way, to protect what we already know, to go curl up on the couch, make it easy for us, right? And then two is this drive to create, to discover, to invent, to try something new. And that is hardwired into all of us. And that's the instinct, that's the urge, the curiosity to go forward, to try something new. That's the urge that we want to tap into here. It's a primal urge in human life. And it turns out I've always used that, but that's my creative process. So you're going to hear a lot today, and this is actually in your bag. You'll see a maker passport, which is what will help you get credits. If you write down the talks and booths you've gone to, keep track of your hours, and we'll have certificates as well. So you'll see a lot of this process for making, you know, whether it's a design thinking process, it's called a lot of different names. Here's our version of it. But actually, we're talking about something fundamental and deeper that's about these human motivations, that's about curiosity, that's about discovery, invention, creativity, and actually that desire to make stuff. And I always kind of laugh that my degree is in making stuff up, you know? So I just want to end just my little piece, inviting you this weekend by telling you about my daughter's school. We started there 3 years ago as we saw the kind of tanks going down and her interest in her agency and her sense of asking questions in the school where she was. She was doing that 4th grade slump, they literally call it. And you know, I see it as one of Colorado's first maker schools, and it's not because they build a lot of robots. I'm going to tell you why. And who I want to tell you about is Macintosh and a boy named Marnix. He's an 8th grade student who went to Macintosh Littleton. He left, and then he came back. And I said, well, Marnix, why? Why did you come back? And he said, well, where I went to school, my teachers, they were all hypocrites. You know, they'd tell me to respect everybody else's ideas, but they never listened to mine. So, and that was like a revelation to me. Ding, 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 you know, jamming content in kids' heads also jams their discovery system. It jams their ability to make their own ideas. And if we're not listening to their ideas, what's happening for them? So how can we make space for children and their ideas, which is really the essence of what we're going to talk about here. You know, perhaps we do have an opportunity to reframe our job as teachers, as leaders, and stop worrying quite so much about the content and start setting a context where children are really empowered to be curious and explore and have ideas and create. Marnix really pointed out this central conundrum. You know, as teachers, as leaders, we get to set up the schools and the classrooms, the projects, the inquiries. But how do you use students and help them sculpt the classroom of the day? How do you empower them to have ideas and then follow through on them with action, that action base? And then how do you just start to make a lot of space for them and their ideas to follow them? Because that's really where making starts, right? Not in a product or a piece of technology or a robot, but in a mindset that really solves problems, enables you to make an impact on life itself. So that's where we begin. So this is where you all have the real power to reset the frame and to think about making it a new way and to start actually as makers yourselves. Because you are the makers of your classroom. You are the makers of your children's experience. And that's kind of my invitation to you for this weekend. And otherwise, you'll hear from me kind of along the way. We'll do some design challenges. But really this weekend is yours for the questions you have, for the things you want to do. And I'd love to take 2 minutes before we move into the formal, the speakers, and just have you turn to the person next to you and tell them a little bit about why you're here, the questions you have, what making is to you. So each of you take 1 minute, and then we'll switch.